Hey, welcome to the One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute with your host, the alchemist of Indiana's Black Forest, Alan Bishop. Hey, this channel is all about home distilling and legal distilling. If you've got questions, reach out to us in the comments below, social media, or via bishopshomegrown@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out thealchemistcabinet.com. Hey, what's up, guys? Just checking in with another One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute video, and it's Friday, and it was time for a break. So today is day 60 of my bicycle riding journey, for those of you who have kind of followed that. And I went 28 days straight the first month of bicycling, and then this last month, I think altogether, I think there were 5 days I haven't ridden. So, but I also added a lot of miles to my route, so I'm typically riding 21, 22 miles most days. The days that I'm not, I'm riding at least 11 miles. It has its physical benefits, but for me it's more spiritual, and man, I'm glad I got into it when I did, considering, I'm sure you guys are aware that we went through a flood and all that stuff here, and things got real hectic between here and at work, and it's helped me out as much as anything in my life has ever helped me out to ride that bicycle. So today would be day 60. I decided to take the day off. This evening off from bicycling. I'll make up for it tomorrow. I always make up for it. That's a thing, right? It's a promise to myself. Promise I'm gonna keep riding that thing. I love it. But tonight had some things to do here around the house, and wanted to get a one piece at a time video done because you guys sent me some questions, which I greatly appreciate. And as always, send me your questions, bishopshomegrown@gmail.com, the YouTube comments below, or anywhere on social media. Today is also 60 days since I drank. Now, I've had a sip or two here and there, tasting through barrels, but not actually drinking, right? Being a distiller, there's no way to avoid consumption of some amount of alcohol. I don't intend to quit drinking, but I've been in this industry for 12 years and been distilling for most of my life, and it's time for a break. It's hard on you, especially as you get a little bit older. Hank Williams wasn't lying about the hangovers getting harder. There ain't no doubt about that. But anyways, the Alchemist, or not the Alchemist Cabinet, but the Practical Distillers and Alchemist Almanac is now being formatted, getting ready to head out to the printers the end of this next week. I plan to have that to you guys and have it in hands by October, is my absolute hope. Maybe even September if we luck out. Depends on how long the printing company takes and whether or not the shipping services lose books again like they did last time. The Alchemist Cabinet Volume 1 and Volume 2 are both still available over at thealchemistcabinet.com. If you don't have those, pick those up. The nice little introduction to my methods and theories on distillation, although they've evolved over time, and you may even find contradictions between the two volumes. People point out contradictions in those two to me quite often, but as we get older, we learn more, we expand our knowledge, and we adapt, right, and learn new things. But anyways, before I get into emails, I did have a really good question from Dan the Man. Some of you guys have been following, obviously, what I do on social media over at Old Homestead Distillery, and some of you noticed that I was fermenting orange juice. So this is something that I've talked about before, and that I've written about, I believe, in the Black Forest Method book. But yes, we are fermenting orange juice, and Dan asked, to sort of comment on that a little bit and talk about process. So typically when I ferment orange juice, I'm just buying canned orange juice and using it at the recommended rates. And then bumping with sugar, right? I'm looking for about 1070, 1075 gravity. I would not recommend going above that, and actually 1070, 1075 is pretty damn high. Probably better to aim for 1060, 1065, using good water and good cane sugar. So a lot of people are afraid to ferment orange juice because they think it's too acidic to ferment. Now, the cool thing about orange juice is it's not nearly as acidic as what you think it is. So it's about a 3.5 pH. Any good brandy yeast, any good wine yeast will take every bit of that and operate just fine. What you do got to watch out for is, bear in mind that orange juice already has a preservative in it. It has ascorbic acid in it, naturally, and citric acid, right? And so you have to blow through those preservatives in order to be able to get it to ferment, or to continue to ferment. Certain other brands, including the one that we use at Old Homestead, apparently have other preservatives and more preservatives. And so with orange juice, the trick is to keep it cool if you can. It's a little hard to do in wooden barrels at work, but we're managing and everything's going well. Take your time with it, be patient with it, and I would recommend using something with a high alcohol tolerance, a high osmotic pressure tolerance, something that can take that low pH, that acidity, and you need to probably be feeding it a little bit of superfood or something like that every couple days to keep it rolling, especially as it gets through those preservatives. Because what you'll find is it'll kick off. Not all brands, but some brands will kick off. They'll ferment real well for a day or two, and then they'll slow way down if they don't just completely stop. You need to hit it with some food and step feed it every few days. Be patient. Sometimes that's going to take 3-4 weeks to be able to get through that orange juice and get it to really ferment and make the alcohol that you want it to make. I will tell you that LD Carlson makes some really great yeast strains. They have a quote-unquote turbo yeast that is not a turbo like you guys are used to. It's actually a yeast strain that it's basically EC1118 is my understanding, with amino acids instead of super firm. So super firm is what's in turbo yeast that gives it that mineral off flavor. The amino acids don't do that, and man, it has saved my ass more than once or twice when I've gotten in a bind with something like orange juice. So bear that in mind. Like I said, 1060, 1065 is probably about as high as you want to go. The higher you take that gravity, and that yeast is already having to work against those preservatives, excuse me, the more stress that yeast is going to get as it goes. So I wouldn't go real high gravity on that stuff. So I'm not going to go into any more detail than that, because that product is a base for a gin that we're doing at Old Homestead, and so therefore, right, I can give you the basics of the fermentation of orange juice, but from there, that's all intellectual property that I have to protect. So all right, so from there, let's get into some email questions. So, morning, I picked these recipes off the internet. Any changes I should know? This is about absinthe, apparently. Also, I'm 72 and want to make some rye whiskey and some heavy rye bourbon. Could you please tell me a way to distill some for a white dog, something to enjoy before I kick the bucket, and a recipe that would taste good in 2 years? Man's got to have some faith/hope. Also, general distiller's question. If you could get a hold of the leaves they sell to farmers, could you extract their proprietary yeast from that? All right, so let's start with the rye. So let's go 60% rye. Let's go 20% oats, and let's go 10%, let's go 20% oats, 20% malted rye. That's where I'd go. That malted rye will give you more than enough diastatic power to convert the whole thing. The oats smooth everything out. Rye actually comes to a acceptable maturity a little faster, so probably 2 years in a bad mo barrel, or 2 years in a 1030 barrel. Give you what you want, I think. So that would be my opinion, and that would be my suggestion for a rye whiskey mash bill. I would do that as double pot distilled. I wouldn't do pot thumper. Double pot distilled, fairly tight cuts, and you should be good to go. About 1055 specific gravity, not real high alcohol. Makes good whiskey. Makes good whiskey. So, and as a general distiller's question, if I could get a hold of leaves they sell to farmers, could you extract the proprietary yeast from it? So I'm presuming that you're talking about maybe wine lees here. Yes, you absolutely could. It's going to have yeast in it for sure. Now, the thing is, has it been setting around? Is it contaminated with bacteria? How long has it been setting? Right? Those are all questions you have to ask. So those are things that you should consider, because then not only are you going to get that yeast, you're going to get all the bacteria and everything that comes along with it as well. And, you know, that can be manageable to some degree, but how much time, effort, and money do you want to put into it to do that? So those are good questions to think about. So first up, he sends a number 1 traditional absinthe, circa early 1900s absinthe Le Bleu style. This recipe aims to replicate the traditional clear Blanche slash blue absinthe. The key is precise botanical measurements and careful distillation. And so then he goes on to list 2 liters of 170 proof, 58 grams of wormwood, 69 grams of anise, 79 grams fennel, 16 grams star anise, 8 grams hyssop, 11 grams lemon balm, 6 grams peppermint, 2 grams licorice root, 1 gram angelica roots. Process maceration, heat to 140 with botanicals, hold it near the temperature for 1 hour, then let it set for another 24 hours. Proof will spirit down below 40% ABV with 2.4 liters. This looks an awful lot like one of my recipes. I think it's probably an interpretation of one of my recipes. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a great absinthe to make. It's a little light. Well, actually, no, because that's in liters. 58 grams wormwood's a pretty good botanical load. That's a pretty heavy botanical load. So that's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to read through all the notes as far as distillation here, but let me see what else you got in here. So 1700s historic absinthe recipe from the Chase of Craft video featuring Alan Bishop. So base brandy, you guys have probably seen all this stuff. If you haven't, go over to Chase the Craft, check out Jesse's channel. You'll see where we talked about 3 different absinthes, probably more than that. Several absinthes. We did several podcasts, and it was a lot of fun. Let me see which one this is. Let's see. All right, so the 1700s historic absinthe recipe. That's probably my favorite one that I've given out to the public. So either of those 2 is good. The first one that you listed, the blue style, it's probably going to be a little more on like the sweeter side. The 1700s one is going to be quite a bit more beefy, is what I would say, in my opinion. So I would go with that one myself. I've also published a couple of absinthe recipes in the Black Forest method that I actually think are the best absinthe. Well, the best absinthe recipes I've shared with the public. There's several that I've not shared with the public because, again, I've learned over the years I have to protect some of my own stuff for myself and my family. So great questions, man. Great questions, Terry. Appreciate it, man. So all right, well, there's those. Sorry for a little bit of a slow-paced video. I haven't done a video for a little while, so I'm not used to it, right? I've been riding the bicycle and doing that sort of stuff and just up here in my head working through some stuff. But let's see, we got one more here. I think we can get one more here in this video. But guys, please send more questions along, and I'll get back in the habit of doing these a couple of times a week. You can also keep an eye out, if you have Ghosts, You Have Everything podcast about the paranormal, the preternatural, the supernatural, spirituality, etc. Wherever you get your podcast, is about to start recording its next season. And I'm really looking forward to it, man. I've done a lot of research and a lot of work on astrological magic and ideas of what is naturally lawful. A lot of ideas on the trickster. I've got a lot of cool stuff I'm gonna get into this year that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So all right, so let's see what we got here. This one is from, man, I gotta be more organized. I gotta be a little bit more, have a little more personality in these videos. I didn't realize how tired I was until I started filming this, I guess. So from Justin. So, fairly new to distilling and have had good success with Uncle Jesse's Simple Sour Mash, and as well as all corn with enzymes for conversion using my 15-gallon still from 13 Stills. Our good buddy Jason Wade Harrell over there making great stuff. My normal way is to do a few stripping runs and then a spirit run on a pot still. Hell yeah, doing it the right way. Double pot still. Nothing wrong with thumpers either. Just another tool in the toolbox, right? But I'd like to try a typical bourbon mash bill with 70 corn, 15 rye, and 15 barley. I'm currently working on both a malted rye with two-row and an unmalted rye with distiller's malt, so I have enough for conversion. My question is this: is there any flavor differences I can expect between two-rows and distiller's malt? I enjoy comparing different things, but being a very small scale and limited funds, would like any info on what to expect. For example, what potential differences could I expect using both malted rye and distiller's malt versus malted rye and two-row? Any input is appreciated as I plan future runs. So, differences between two-row and distiller's malt. So, interestingly enough, a lot of distiller's malt that's on the market is actually a high-protein two-row at this point. It used to be 6-row, and that was derived from the old bear barley from Scotland that was brought into Tennessee early on in the history of this country. But nowadays, the great majority of it is 2-row. Now, distiller's malt is, and I've discussed this in the videos in the past, distiller's malt does not have much flavor. It's why you don't typically see single malt made out of distiller's malt. 2-row is where the flavor's at. Distiller's malt is where the conversion's at, and that goes for distiller's malt that's made out of 2-row too. It still doesn't have a lot of flavor. It's high protein. It's really shrunken grains. There's just not a whole lot of stuff there to get flavor out of, or really to get much starch out of either. If you want flavor, 2-row and modified versions and varieties of 2-row that brewers use is where your flavor comes from. But you know, if you want some yield, you're going to have to use, you know, a base malt as well, something like a Pilsner or Sugar Creek Malt Company. They actually do a pre-pro distiller's malt that's got quite a bit of flavor to it. But typically, distiller's malt's not going to have a whole lot of flavor to it. Now, rye malt, on the other hand, I absolutely love rye malt. Rye malt has got a peach ring candy flavor to it, or it's got a little bit of, like, when you bite into a peach between the skin and the flesh, that sort of flavor. Really nice, really beefy. Also has a ton of diastatic power. The other suggestion I would have is, instead of doing the 70 corn, 15 rye, and 15 barley, I might even do, let's call it 70 corn, let's call it 10 rye, 5 rye malt, and 15 barley. Right, a little bit of everything in there. Give you a little bit of salt, you know, in your meal there, and make it a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. And still have the diastatic power, get you up to about 20% malt altogether. If you hit 20% malt, you're going to have the best possible conversion you can have naturally without exogenous or exogenous enzymes, however you guys want to say it. You're going to have the best of both worlds there as far as flavor and yield. So, all right, guys, that's all I got for tonight. I do apologize for a slower video, slower talking. Just a little tired, right? Been busy as hell since that flood came through here. One more thing, I keep forgetting. My family and I did not get a chance to thank everybody who donated to the GoFundMe that Jolie Kasperzak set up. There were so many names there, and we were overwhelmed by everything. We did get our car replaced thanks to you guys that donated to that. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys, how much we appreciate you guys, and how much we love you guys. I didn't realize that I'd had the effect that I'd had on so many people through doing, you know, Distillers Talk, or doing One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute, or through my distilleries, wherever you guys, you know, found out about me or whatever. But it means the world to me also. I haven't shown it on here yet, and I will. I recently got back into playing a little bit of music here and there. My brother Eric Wolf at Stolen Wolf sent me a really cool Epiphone Dot, which I love. I named it Saturn. It's jet black, and I love it. And I don't know if somebody thought that maybe I'd lost that guitar in the flood, and luckily I did not, because I cherish that thing, because Eric gave it to me, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Someone, and I don't know who, I've not been able to figure out yet and track down who, sent me a Les Paul Epiphone 60s reissue, inspired by Gibson. I think it's part of that line. So it had to be somebody that knew me fairly well, but no one has fessed up to it yet. Les Paul, I've always wanted a Les Paul. I never did have one. I always thought, and it's an Epiphone, it's not a Gibson, but nonetheless, it's the nicest guitar I've ever owned, short of I had a Fender American Fat Strat one time. I never bought a Les Paul because I always thought they were too nice for me. So to whoever sent me this fucking gorgeous guitar, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I love it, and I love you. And I just wanted to say that, because I don't know if they did that because they thought I'd lost my guitar in the flood or whatever, but I didn't, and it means the world to me. So, her name's Neptune, because she's blue and she's beautiful, and I love it. All right, y'all. Love you. Later.